I'm Dr. Dara, and this is Truth with Dr. Dara. And it's been a couple weeks. I took a staycation. It was awesome. I was off of social media for 12 days, but who's counting? And it's been pretty cool because even since I've been back on social media, I feel like I haven't been quite as intense about it. And we're only on Facebook tonight because my iPad didn't charge. So it is what it is. Jen, Rick, hi, I see you guys on. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to talk about vacating yourself or vacating life and how you take a break, because I think it's an important topic. As we're approaching summertime and people are taking different vacations and breaks and the schedule is changing up, I think we need to focus on numero uno, number one, and you and what you're gonna do and what it's gonna look like for you to take a break. Lou, I see that you just got on. Hi, Coach Lou. So what do you guys do? There was some awesome feedback in Truth with Dr. Dara this week when I put on how do you vacate? What do you do? And it looks so different for so many different people. And I think where people get stuck is they think that it has to be this grand, perfect idea. Well, we had some time off. My husband had some time, and I really couldn't get my act together to even think about planning it or orchestrating it and putting it together. And we weren't sure where to go. And like most people, we were even thinking about finances and what do we do. So we did a staycation, and what that looked like for us is that our kids were still in school and we still had help. So it gave us some opportunity to go do some things together, and then we took them out of school one day and we had a family day, which was really cool too. And we got to sleep in our own bed and eat our food and be in our kitchen. And that part of it was really great because there's no place like home. Isn't that what Dorothy says? There's no place like home. There's no place like home. And there's not. So we got to hang out in our house and kind of do some of the touristy things as well. And that part of it was really fun. And we enjoyed going to the pool. And I also designated part of my staycation prioritizing my writing, because often things get in the way. Something happens, or there's an article or something else that I have to do. But this time was all about me writing. And also I get caught up in social media a lot, and it takes up a lot of energy and space, which is great because I get to connect with you guys, and just not doing it freed up a lot of space just in itself, because I wasn't constantly on the phone and checking it. And so when I would get on my computer, I would be really focused, and it would just be right into my content, my writing of the book. And so that part of it I really liked. And it just gave a chance to step back and observe and just see where my priorities are, because things were feeling really intense and really heavy. But again, I think that a lot of people think if they're going to do vacation, it has to be something grand and big, and they have to go to Hawaii, or they have to go to Europe, or it has to be this long period of time. So how do you vacate? How do you find a few minutes to yourself? And how do you create the bridge to get there? Because if you're thinking, oh, I want to go to Hawaii, that's great, but maybe that's not realistic. Maybe it's not financially realistic. Maybe it's not realistic with the amount of time that you have built in with your days off. So what can you do that would be realistic in your own lifestyle? And for some of us, it's just starting with little increments. You could vacate and take a break just by going and getting your nails done. You could vacate and take a break just by having some quiet time, or committing to doing something with some friends. You know, if you had a vacation, would it be because you were doing it with friends, or would you do it yourself? And create those ideas around it, because if not, you're risking yourself at burnout, and if you're burned out, you're not any good to anybody else. I see some more people jumping on. Debbie, I see that you just got on. We're talking about vacating and taking a break, and how this time of year, in June, we're at the midpoint of the year, and if you guys are like me, you're going, oh my gosh, where did half of this year go? So I see it as an opportunity to regroup, see where it is that you're at and where you want to head and what's in store for you for the rest of the year. If you don't like where you've been, erase it, and start over. And if you do like it, then keep that momentum going. And summertime, if you have kids, there's a change in schedule. And even if you don't have a change in schedule, I know Coach Lou, you're a coach, so your schedule completely changes because this time of year you start with kids in the morning and you have a more intense schedule. So how are you going to take care of yourself? What are you going to do? How is that going to affect your eating, and how is that going to affect your time to yourself? And that's critical no matter what you're doing, whether you're a dad, whether you're a coach, whether you're a mom, anything you're doing. How do you fuel you? Because if you're not fueling you, you're not fueling anybody. And I think it's this idea sometimes, it's almost like being a martyr, like, oh, I can't do me, or I can't take care of me. And we find all these reasons why things can't work. But let's talk about how things can work. I made a joke, there was a new mom in the group, and she posted about just trying to find 5 minutes for herself. And I was a smart aleck and said, going to the bathroom by yourself when you're a new mom or you have young kids is time to yourself. So start little tiny increments. Debbie says, I booked a week at the beach with the grandkids in July. I'm not taking my work. I'm trying to read the rest of it. You're not taking your work laptop. Okay, Debbie, I'm going to have a PP party for you. Woohoo, Debbie, that's awesome. I love hearing that you're doing that. And knowing you, Debbie, a little bit too, how are you going to work in some time for you? What would that look like? How much time do you need? Because you're going to be with the kids, you're going to be with the grandkids. Do you need some walks on the beach? Do you need some quiet time? What are the things that you need so that when you come back from the trip, you're feeling refueled and refreshed? Look, we have a surprise. Did you hear me talking about Debbie? We have a guest star. This is Denzel. He likes it when I take some time and rest and vacate. He loved being my writing buddy. He sat right next to me, right? Can you say hi? Hello. Jen says, I decided to take the day off tomorrow and go to the beach with no agenda. I've always been afraid that it would make me a less invaluable employee. Well, you know what, Jen? I'm thinking that makes you a more valuable employee because you're gonna have the day off and then you're gonna return feeling refreshed and really connected and have a different perspective. And I know how much you love the beach. Who doesn't love the beach? And so by going, it's a little piece of vacation. And I know you enjoy spending time on the Florida beach, and you can't have access to that right now, but it's gonna trigger those ideas and those thoughts. And that's what we want to think about. Where it's the places that we like to be and what we like to do, so we can connect with those part of us, because all these ideas are ingrained in our head. They're already pre-wired. If you were a kid and you guys never took vacations, you're going to be thinking, well, I can't take a vacation. There's no money, there's no time. And I want you, he's got an itch, to ask yourself what you want that to look like at this point and over the next 6 months. And even if it's just a day. So Jen, kudos to you for taking the day off to go to the beach. I think that's awesome because that's your happy place. And for some of us, it's just doing nothing. You know, part of my time off was also taking care of some medical stuff. I had to have a treatment on my face for like the pre-cancer, for me going to the beach and being out in the sun playing tennis all those years. So with that, it was perfect because I could design it around it. And it was kind of cool because, well, not the feeling and the whole situation I had to do, but I knew that I had to stay inside. So last Tuesday afternoon and last Wednesday, that's solely what was happening. I was just gonna stay in the house. It was like a license to just stay in. And it was cool. And I sat around and I wrote, and because my husband had taken time off too, I had extra hands with the kids, and they enjoyed it too. They liked having us around. There was some extra time for cooking and for cleaning, and I started a bag of clothes to donate, things that I might have just walked past and didn't do. Now, I have something for you though, because often we take some time off and we go do things. And have you guys ever felt like you go and you take the time and then you get back into the sync of your life and it just doesn't even feel like that ever happened? Well, that's an experience. That's how I've been feeling. I took the time off and then I came at it so hard. Tuesday I was in Tampa with some athletes, and today I had the opportunity to teach a really amazing training, rapid resolution therapy eating disorders and trauma, and that was incredible. But my adrenaline is going. It's going. And yesterday I had a full day in my office, and Monday I had a full day in my office, and this weekend I have an interview that I have to fly out for. So there's all these great things going on, but I can feel the adrenaline picking up. I mean, even to do the live, a friend asked me, are you going to do it? And she said, you have such a crazy week. And I said, yeah, but I've got to get back in the swing, and I'm concerned that if I don't do it, then by next week, here we are a few weeks, and it's so easy to just be like, well, I don't know, and to be consistent and to keep that commitment. And so that felt really important for me to do it, but it was kind of literally moving some mountains and some rain puddles and a lot of showers and driving, and here I am. And so how am I going to restore and refuel, and how do you maintain that staycation mentality? I haven't, like I said before, felt so intensified around social media. In fact, I even forgot to post that I was doing the live because I was just caught up in my day. So I definitely feel a distance and able to step back in how to come back and prioritize, what do I want the summer to look like? How much time do I want to spend in my writing and in my practice and in all the other entities of my business? And one thing became very clear for me, and that's not just spending time with my kids, but being present, and the things that I'm doing, being present, not being scattered everywhere. So when you say, Jen, well, you know, to feel bad to your employer, well, your employer is going to be great with you coming back and refreshed and focused. And I know that your work is so important to you, Jen, just like so many that are tuning in right now. And Debbie, you taking a week off is magical, because it's time to refuel and just connect and do the things that you like to do. I wonder if we each took vacation and we just did it around acting like a child and just doing whatever a kid would do, you know, just waking up in the morning, and they're not thinking about time concept. They're just thinking about when they're going to go to the pool and what's the next activity or what's the next fun thing to do. And there's something to be said for that, because we get caught and our anxiety is increasing. So I propose that it is a priority to vacate and to set some different ideas around taking a break for yourself, for your own mental health and well-being, because it's not even that you have to pause, because that's something that I realized I would have thought about going and taking the time off, that I have to pause or I have to stop. And I realized I don't pause or stop, I just slow it down. I'm not going to stop thinking of things or doing things. I remember when I was in graduate school, I would work hard and then I would take time off even harder. So when it was in my semester, and I would be going and I'd be doing 1,000 things, and then the minute it was time for my break, I would be saying, well, I'm not going to have a watch, and I'm going to go away, and I'm going to be so disconnected. But there was an incongruency because it was so all or nothing. And the moment I realized that I could go away, I could still pay attention to time or stay a little bit connected, it didn't feel so lopsided, where then I had such a difficult time returning back into my semester, because I would take the time off and then I'd be having so much fun, and then it was just so hard to turn around. So even how I took time off and then I jumped right back in it this week, and there were times I was thinking this week, oh my gosh, did I take some time off, because I'm already feeling like I'm pushing and I'm running. So I have you guys to thank, because that keeps me in check, and it's just slowing down. And I could hear those old tapes just kind of playing and replaying. So what does it look like for you? How do you take a break? It can be that simple of saying, I'm gonna go into the bathroom and I'm not gonna bring my phone with me. How many times do you guys walk in your houses and your phone is still on top of you and you're checking everything and you're doing things? I mean, you walk into an elevator. That happened for me the other day. I walked in an elevator, which typically would be a time of like nothingness, and I just see everybody staring at their phones and nobody made eye contact. And then I even felt awkward. I'm like, am I supposed to look at my phone? And then I felt obnoxious because I looked at people and said, hi, how are you? Or hello, what a beautiful day. And that's where we're getting stuck, is we're not connecting, we're not talking to each other. We're just making our plans, or just going 1,000 miles an hour. And then here's summertime, and I realized something. This week was my daughter's last week of kindergarten, and they're gonna get older. They both have birthdays over the summer, and I'm thinking, where did the last almost 6 years go? 6 years. And I started to think, well, what am I going to say in 6 more years? I'm going to blink and be like, oh my gosh, another 6 years. So I got to have fun now, because half the time we don't even remember things that are going on. I mean, think back 6 years of your life before. And a lot of times we think things that are not going so great are so huge and it's consuming. And then you look back and you're like, oh, it was just a minute. It wasn't so bad. So if you could design the perfect vacate plan, whether you want to call it a mental health plan or something that you can do for yourself. Hello again, Denzel. He's feeling very compelled about this topic, coming from the dog who just says hello, chews things, and then goes to sleep. The life of a dog. Maybe we should think about that. The life of our children and the life of our dogs, about how they unravel and how they take a break and what they do. I think is something to be said, because they're thinking in the present. They're completely thinking what their needs are right now, opposed to what they were before or what they're gonna be. There goes Denzel, he's leaving, and he's not thinking, oh, what am I gonna do in a week? Or what's going on in an hour? Am I gonna feel an anxiety? So what are some of the signs to look for when you're edging on burnout and you knowing it's a time to take a step back for yourself? Feel free to put in your comments or some thoughts how it shows up for you. One of the things that it shows up for me is I start to feel a little fatigued. I even get a little hoarse, a little bit like I am now. That just lets me know, I mean, I was speaking all day in a training, so that accounts for that, but it lets me know that my body just needs a little extra rest, and it's going too fast. Or if I feel like I'm getting irritable and I'm coming home and everything is just boiling, it's like, okay, Dara, what's going on? Because I'm sure it's not because the toys are on the floor. It's probably because you're feeling that you can't get ahead of yourself. What's one next of something coming up? If you find that all you're doing is looking at your to-do lists and to-do list and feeling like you're not getting anything done, well, maybe there's a strong possibility that your to-do list is not realistic to what your capability or where you're at in your moment in your life, because that's fluid too. Things are constantly changing. So I know for some people this may not seem like such a thing, but I have a feeling that it affects a lot more people than we realize. And to really channel in and make shift happen and be your best self is doing what you need to do to vacate, to take a break, and to take care of you. And they don't have to be grand. I just want to say that. People think that vacation or taking off means going on these elaborate, huge trips, and they're not. It's just little bits of things that you can do to kind of get your groove and get you back. Debbie says, when I start to get unfocused, I know it's time to take a break. Completely. But Debbie, how do you know when that focus is showing up for you? For me, is when I'm doing a million things and not getting anything done, or I start things and I feel very frazzled when I'm doing. Mark says that I am such a rock star. Well, Mark, I have to say that I agree. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Mark. I feel like you're so close, but you're so far away. Knowing that are you still in Palm Beach? I would be interested to know that. And maybe you are taking a break, and that's what we're talking about, taking a break and doing self-care. For me, I get cranky. Mark gets cranky. I can't imagine you cranky, Mark. But when do you know the pre-sign? So before the rest of the world's going, oh gosh, Mark, you're so cranky. How do you know? Where does it show up for you? And Mark says, yes, he's here till tomorrow. Talking about quick. How come you didn't make it farther south into Delray today so I could have seen you and you could have hung out with us? Mark and I are having a conversation, but it is great to have you on, Mark, and for all of you guys who are commenting. And I just leave you with the thought of how you can take care of you, because you're going into the summer and it is June and it is the mid part of the year. And how do you want your year to be the best possible? Mark says it shows up in overworking and I become disorganized. Ooh, I think that a lot of people can relate for that, right? You start overworking and probably not taking care of yourself or going to the gym. For me, the gym is my Prozac. You guys hear me say that all the time. It's my antidepressant. And fortunately, that seems to be a solid staple. But I do notice that I get a little more fatigued, or it's harder to get there, and then I feel disorganized. Like when I do come back, I feel like I'm shuffling everywhere, and I can see it because I can sense it from my kids. So when I know that they're very agitated or being very fast, I want to think, what am I putting out there? Debbie says, yes, disorganized. So now that we know how it shows up, let's make sure that that we are doing what we need to do for us. It looks like Mark and John did my workout this morning. Yay. So taking care of you, focusing on what is working, not just what's not working, but focusing on what is working and creating those new patterns in your brain, and using music and getting involved and having a good time. Because if you're just doing things and you feel like Groundhog's Day, better than Groundhog's Day, I think of that commercial for Dunkin' Donuts where the Dunkin' Donut guy is just going, time to make the donuts, right? And he's there at 4 a.m. You have to give me a shout out if you remember this commercial, but it was like 4 or 5 a.m. and he's going in and making the donuts, and he's just so doing it over and over again, and it doesn't seem like he's enjoying it much at all. And I think of that too. And so what are the areas that you are showing up? Where are you being a rock star? And how do you take care of yourself? Because if you're not taking care of you, I have news for you. Nobody else is going to. Madi says, my short patience fuse becomes smaller, easily frustrated and overwhelmed. It is a sure sign for me. Oh, you guys are giving some great ones. Yeah, exactly. So you see that you're getting a little frustrated and things are getting a little shorter for you. So in that moment, I'd love to say, don't you love it when people say, take a breath? When you're feeling frustrated, the last thing that you want to do is take a breath. I mean, yes, for some people, it's like, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm going to step back and take a break. Well, I sometimes think it's even the opposite. When I'm feeling really frustrated and I'm feeling really tight, I like to take the biggest breath I can, and I like to clench my muscles up as tight as possible, and then I just push it out as much as I possibly can. So it's kind of like I am feeling frustrated, instead of going counterintuitively of I'm going to breathe. It doesn't happen because you want to hyperventilate in that moment. So when you're feeling really frustrated and overwhelmed, you're going to take a breath, you're going to inhale, squeeze it all in, and then push it out. And if that's not working for you, put some music on, dance it out, try something different, redirect your energy and just completely shift it. If you don't like what you're doing, don't sit there focusing on what you don't like. If you're feeling cranky, don't keep telling yourself to feel more cranky, because if you tell yourself to feel more cranky, you know what's going to happen? Or to not feel more cranky, you're going to feel more cranky. So let yourself be cranky. It is what it is. It doesn't mean that there's necessarily a problem. And look at something else that's going to grab your attention. So just throwing out a couple things. I see a bunch of you are jumping on now, which is really cool. And if you have any comments about how you take a break, how you vacate, what you need, what your strengths are, and what works for you, let us know. And I will check in with you guys soon. Tune in with Truth with Dr. Dara and add in your comments and your questions. Next week, we're going to talk about relationship and food, and how food affects relationships. I did this podcast and it aired last week, and I'm going to share that with you guys this week because I was on vacation, so I didn't get to hear it live or get you guys so that you could hear it, but I'll put it online so you can hear it. And then also I want to hear what you guys have to say. The idea of, is your relationship revolve around food? Does food revolve around your relationship? How does it affect it? Are you eating? Is that the only time that you're connecting people over food? Do you find that the only time you see your family is when they're eating? We're going to get to the nitty-gritty about that. And then the week after, we're going to talk about how dysfunctional parents, if that affects our parenting. I was asked for a quote in an article, and I just think that is a great topic to continue talking about as well. So let me know where things are showing up, and I'm going to look forward to hearing from you guys. You can go to my website, drdara.com. If you're not already receiving my email, you can get in on the Facebook group, Truth with Dr. Dara. You can always check me out on Instagram and Facebook. And I will tell you, I am now committed to taking one day off of social media a day, and it helps me find my happy space because then I'm way more present. So let me know what you guys are doing to take your breaks, your mini breaks, your baby steps. For some of us, it's called a mommy step. We take a little step and we keep going, and don't be afraid to go to the bathroom by yourself with no phone for 30 seconds. Try it. You might like it. All right, you guys, have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.